with the hadith that we recite after Fajr. First of all, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accept everyone's Fajr Salah and continue to make this a blessed day for all of us. We're not going to go in order from hadith to hadith, just because some hadith are very similar, and also I want to leave it to the brothers and sisters to pick up this book and recite it on their own as well, so they can read every little thing. There are many versions of Riyadh al-Salihin printed in different areas where the scholars will interpret the hadith as well. So inshallah, I encourage everyone to pick up this hadith, whether it's as an individual or as a family, and recite it from beginning to end. And if you have any questions further than that, you can take it to your local imam or local scholar for those things that you don't understand. So we continue with the next hadith that we're going to recite. It's still in the same chapter of sincerity. عن أبي يزيد معن ابن يزيد ابن الأخنس رضي الله عنهم وهو وأبوه وجده صحابيون قال كان أبي يزيد أخرج دنانير يتصدق بها فوضعها عند رجل في المسجد فجئت فأخذتها فأتيته بها فقال والله ما إياك أردت فخاصمته إلى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال لك ما نويت يا يزيد ولك ما أخذت يا معن رواه البخاري. So this hadith is narrated from Abu Yazid Ma'an ibn Yazid ibn al-Akhnas radiyallahu anhum, and he himself and his father and his grandfather were all companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So Abu Yazid, he had taken out some dinar, the currency at that time, to give as sadaqah, and he left it next to a person in the masjid who gave him this responsibility that when someone comes who's in need, please give them this sadaqah. So his son went to that man, and he, after obviously talking to the person seeing that he's someone in need, he said, I took the money. And he brought the money to his father. When his father saw the money with him, he said, I swear by Allah, you were not the person I intended to take this wealth. So his son argued with him, and in a sense not the way that we would argue. We'll talk about that inshallah. Until they went to the Prophet ﷺ to get the final ruling on this. And then the Prophet ﷺ said, O Yazid, you will get what you intended, and O Ma'an, you will get what you had taken. Narrated by Al-Bukhari. So aside from just a person, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them the reward for their intentions. And that's the main gist of this hadith being in the chapter of sincerity. There's a little bit more extra thing that we can sort of take from this hadith. Just looking at how worlds apart, it's pretty much almost upside down of how today's world and how the time of the Prophet ﷺ matters were dealt with. Now there's three different people that we look at in this, actually maybe four different people in this hadith: the father, the son, the person responsible, and the Prophet ﷺ. The father over here, obviously we're not going to talk about the sense of charity, because like I said, that's just a simple matter of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala giving us what we intend. On top of that, we look at the dealings of the father, the son, the person responsible, and the person which is the Prophet ﷺ over here, who they come to help them solve their problems. Now the father, when he intended to give something as charity, this is just a righteous act that we should all have in our lives. Whether we're the father, the mother, a person, an individual, whoever we are, we should always be considerate for other people who are less fortunate, and always be trying to do good deeds. Not wait for people to come to us and say, oh, well, that person's a beggar, he's going through a hard time, let me give it to him. The Sahaba, they would always take this initiative that let me go find out and see if there's anyone that's in need, not wait for someone to come knock on my door. Yes, people still came knocked on their door, but that didn't stop them from fulfilling their responsibility, which is going out and searching for people that were in need. So obviously, if you can't find someone, he still has other duties. He left it with someone there responsible, and this is also another thing of the Prophet of the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, that they had people that they could trust to that extent, where they would just leave money with them. Said, "I cannot do this. I have to go attend other matters. Can you take care of this responsibility?" They never had a doubt in their mind that, "Oh man, I wonder if that person really gonna keep it for themselves, or is that person gonna give it a sadaqah?" Where in today's times, even in masajids, we have to open up charity boxes and we have to put locks on them because we want to make sure that nothing gets stolen. So it's just the mindset of the society is completely different than of today, and that person obviously fulfilling the duty. Now, who comes to this person? It's obviously a community over there where everyone knows one another, and who comes? It's this person's son, and that person's son, when he comes to this man to get the charity, he doesn't say, "Get out of here! Your father just gave this to me." He went and said, "Well, what's your case?" And he pleaded the case to him, and he said, "Yes, you are in need," and he gave it to him. Then the son over here, he didn't have this mindset, "Okay, I got this money, it's obviously he deserved it, but still I want to avoid my dad because I don't want, as if we're sneaky, oh no, I'm going to get in trouble." He was on the right. He knew he was on the right. The man at the masjid decided he was right, and he gave him the money. He didn't hide anything from his father, but instead went straight to his father. The father and son had a small debate over here of who's right and who's wrong, and the method of solving this problem, you just see the level of respect for the son and the father between one another, the level of mercy between the father and the son is there, that they're like, "Well, let's go to the Prophet ﷺ so you can decide amongst us." And it starts with the father saying, "Wallahi, Wallahi, I did not intend you to get this. I intended someone else, not my own family. In other words, you're my responsibility. You're my son, or I wanted somebody else to have it." Now, on the side note, we should understand that this is charity, that's nafil, that's extra, not the zakat, because that one, a father cannot give the zakat to the son. So this is obviously, scholars say this is the charity given that anybody can get, Muslim, non-Muslim, son, whoever it may be, can receive this charity. So when they went to the Prophet ﷺ, we look at the Prophet ﷺ and how he dealt with the matter, putting both at ease. Well, what does the father want and what does the son want? And first of all, they're both on the right. After saying that, he just says one sentence that calms everybody down. You got what you intended, and you get what you deserve, which is the sadaqah. So the Prophet ﷺ had this type of character that he can take any situation and just smooth it down and calm everybody down by letting them know exactly what the reality is. Why did you give this charity? What was the whole point behind it? Was to get the reward. You got the reward. You deserve this charity, and you took it for that reason. You didn't have any other motive behind it. You get to keep it. Now, if you look at today's society and just compare how a son would react with a father, how the father would react to the son, how a person who's given this responsibility to help facilitate the decision between two people who are in conflict, and you just see it's almost worlds apart. It's upside down. So we really have to go back, and as parents, look at our children and be like, you know what, I shouldn't always treat them like this. They could be right, and if I don't know, have knowledge on the matter, maybe I shouldn't argue with it. Maybe we should go to another source to see if what my son or daughter is saying is correct. As children, there's no need for us to be sneaky or going around or hiding things from our parents. Usually the only time we do that is we think, you know what, I don't want my parents to know what I'm doing because I feel like I'm wrong. And if we're wrong, we should work and try to find a different solution to that, to try to make it easier for our lives, not try to hide it, because it becomes very detrimental for a child to start living life and thinking like, okay, my parents are on, I gotta act one way, I gotta be one way, I gotta do one thing. Oh, I'm with my friends, okay, I can be myself. Oh, I'm at the masjid, I gotta act a certain way, the imam's right there. This really messes with our psyche. Instead, what we should do is try to focus. Yes, we have mistakes, yes, we have shortcomings, that's fine. Every individual, whether you're a small child or an adult, you will continue to live between these two situations where you either have some good things within you, good characteristics and good deeds, and you have some bad characteristics that you're trying to remove out of you, or some bad deeds. So there's nothing to worry about that, but we try to find solutions to every single problem that we have, not put it under the rug or hide it and deal with it by ourselves in the future. And if we're ever a person that's given an amana, and that's a trust, whether it's for money, whether it's for keys of the house, because there are people, our neighbor or our friends are out of town, we have to fulfill that trust, just like this man at the masjid did. And then finally, if someone comes to us to help deal with problems, we have to look at it at a very neutral way and make sure that we don't take a side or the other side. I've had many parents, they'll contact me and say, tell my son or daughter like this, they're like this, and they have to listen to me. That doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that whatever the imam are just there for people to come and say, oh, you know what, you're religious. Islam says my child has to obey me. Can you tell my child to obey me? What's the matter? What are we talking right now? Where's the obedience lie in? Maybe within that obedience it could be wrong. We have to make sure, because the first person that we obey, the first one that we obey overall is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And then we have to make sure that all other obedience doesn't contradict that obedience. So it's a very small hadith, but it's very it should open up our eyes on how we should view the world, how our relationship with our families, whether we're the child or the parent, or our relationship with the community, whether we're the one helping making the decisions, or helping pass judgment, or the one that's receiving the judgment. And really just look at, the more we look at the Prophet ﷺ and his life, the more we can just see and step back at our own life and be like, oh wait, am I doing the right thing? Am I walking on the right path? So we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make it easy for all of us and forgive us for all of our shortcomings. Also, we will start another little videos in the evenings for Isha. This one revolves around the Hadith. We'll have that talk revolve around the Quran, inshallah. Jazakumullahu khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.